WWE must avoid this big mistake with Jade Cargill. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what that mistake is and why they have to avoid it at all costs. Think the plague levels, because Jade Cargill obviously is on the sidelines right now, and it sucks. It sucks. They had to change so much. So what she was laid out on an episode of SmackDown, laid out in the parking lot, right? We've seen her, and now they're doing the whodunit angle, the mystery storyline. Could it be this person? Could it be that person? Regardless of that, they had to change plans. They had to remove her from the Women's U.S. Championship title tournament, in which I thought that she was a heavy favorite in to win. I thought that would have been a brilliant idea. She also had to be pulled from the Women's War Games match at Survivor Series, a major blow. They had to pull in Bayley to replace her, right? And everyone was like, what is going on with Jade? Because there was no reports, there was no indications that she was injured or she was dealing with anything. Now, obviously, WWE stars, pro wrestlers in general, they deal with nagging injuries, right? All the time. But a major injury like this, something in which reportedly will keep her sidelined for at least 3 months, it's significant and it's huge. Not only did they have to change their short-term plans, but now they've had to change their big-term plans, their long-term plans, considering that she was potentially going to be the first ever Women's U.S. champion, a champion that will be crowned for the very first time at Saturday Night's Main Event on December 14th. Now they got to figure out who they're going to put the title on, whether that be Bayley, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, heck, maybe even Bianca Belair. They also have to change their long-term picture of what do you do with the women's tag team champions, because she and Bianca Belair hold that right. They hold that role. And that leads us to today's video, because while Jade Cargill will be sidelined for multiple months, and that's going to suck, obviously WWE will be without its star power on SmackDown with Jade Cargill, heading into WrestleMania season, heading into the debut of Raw on Netflix. The big thing that they must avoid is having someone lame to be her mystery attacker, including Bianca Belair. When she returns and she comes back and goes, okay, I'm back and I'm back to figure out who attacked me, it has to be a top tier star. It cannot be a situation in which they just do the storyline, she comes back, and it's completely forgot about, and they just drop it. And we never actually get to see the mystery attacker, considering that they are investing in this angle right now. You need a good payoff. And two, you don't want it to be a situation like Steve Austin in 2000 when he got ran over in the parking lot. He comes back, and it turns out to be Rikishi. And it makes no sense. I hope in this situation, it's much different from the Steve Austin situation. Steve Austin situation, they're like, oh, he's got to go away for neck surgery. We have to write him off of television. We don't know who's going to attack him. We don't know who's going to be revealed as that, but we got to do the storyline anyway. And oh, by the way, we'll figure it out at a later date. You can't do that with Jade Cargill. And especially, you can't do that in 2024. The outrage, and by the time that she returns, it'll be 2025, but the outrage by fans will be absolutely nuclear on social media. They will rip this company apart. And like I said, you don't want it to be a lame duck attacker. You want it to be a Nia Jax or a Raquel Rodriguez who's aligned with Liv Morgan, or Tiffany Stratton. Someone that WWE sees as big time, or at least has a big time person around them, or a big time feud going on, right? Because if they just do like, oh, Mia Yim ran her over, or Piper Niven ran her over, or someone like that, it's like, really? Really? Them? I also think that there's a crucial part of like, you need a little bit of a backstory, like, maybe you have someone like Tiffany Stratton that runs her over, or Liv Morgan had Raquel run her over, considering that they were feuding with them at the time, right? Not only at Survivor Series, but just in general. A few weeks back, obviously, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, they challenged Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair for the titles. Now, I could make the exception in saying, okay, well, maybe Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are involved, considering that they beat Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair for the titles at one point, and they lost the titles to start the second reign of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Like, okay, I can see that because of the history. They may not be the biggest stars in the world, but at least they have a history with Jade and Bianca, and they have potential to be a top act. They really, really do, especially with the women's tag team titles. I think they're perfect champions. So you take all that into consideration, you have to execute. You have to execute in a very big way because you don't want that backlash with fans, especially with Jade Cargill, considering that she is such a decisive and controversial name within the wrestling industry. And I understand why. And I've talked about this before, but it's like you either like Jade Cargill or you don't. You're a fan of hers or you're a hater. You think she's overrated or you think she is rightfully hyped. In my opinion, she's rightfully hyped considering that she is getting a lot better in the ring. Her promos are better, but she's got her character down. Her character down, whether it's a babyface or a heel, whether it's an AEW or WWE, it's pretty much her with the volume turned up. She doesn't look like anyone else. She's got charisma. She's over to a certain degree. She's getting better. She's only going to get better because she knows what she wants out of this company and out of this industry. And so with that, she's going to excel. And I will be very, very interested in seeing what they do with Jade Cargill coming out of this when she does return. Past the initial return, she gets her hands on the attacker and she gets her revenge and all that. It's like, okay, are they still women's tag team champions, her and Bianca Belair? Do they continue that tag team with her? Do they have, they split them up and then they finally do the match? Do they just go along and just are alliance members? What do you do? How do you handle it? There are so many different aspects to not only this character in Jade Cargill, this storyline evolving Jade Cargill. A lot of moving parts. And if you're WWE, if you're Triple H, you have to be very, very careful with what you do and how you pinpoint it because, it's hard enough to book backwards when you know or you expect to have talent around. It's much, much harder to try to backtrack and change plans when you don't have that star available and they're injured and they've caused changes to other plans, right? It's much, much difficult to do that. So that is definitely something that WWE and Triple H need to keep in mind when it comes to booking Jade Cargill and booking her in the future. Let me know in the comments area below. What do you think WWE should do with Jade Cargill when she returns to action?